是一名极度危险的重刑犯。押送时不仅手脚被铁链层层锁死，就连特制的头套也要额外枷锁。为了确保万无一失，法警为他扣紧安全带，又将他铐死在座椅上。就算这样严防死守，最终还是让他找到了可乘之机。飞机刚冲上云端不久，男人忽然就有了诡异的动静，他竟硬生生地掰下自己的假牙，没想到这是他找暗藏的越狱工具。趁着法警毫无察觉之际，他开始悄悄撬动手铐，等待着预料之内的爆炸。舱体瞬间破了一个大洞，机内顿时乱作一团，机身剧烈抖动，开始四分五裂，眼看就要散架。混乱中，一名囚犯趁机夺走了法警腰间的钥匙，临死前将钥匙塞进男人的手中。此时，下方的湖畔，一对父子正在东营，突然一只燃烧着的皮鞋掉落在他们的面前。父亲抬头一看，吓得魂飞魄散，拉起儿子疯狂逃命。轰隆一声巨响，巨大的飞机残骸砸落在眼前，瞬间将他们的爱车砸成废铁。整架飞机正笔直地冲向大地，机长拼死拉拽操纵杆，竭力挽救。而此时，男人已解开了所有镣铐，彻底恢复自由。法警赶忙冲上来，想要制止，可是为时已晚，却反被男人轻松利落撂倒。飞机在机长的拼死控制下，终于勉强拉平机身。伴随着刺耳的摩擦声，飞机轰然迫降在茫茫雪原之上。幸存的囚犯们惊慌四散，逃入茫茫雪林。那个最危险的男人同样活了下来。不久之后，阿拉斯加警局接到报警，小镇北边升起不明烟雾，局长弗兰克带领队员乘坐直升机前往查看。抵达现场后，众人震惊，竟是一架运输机诡异坠毁在此，地面空无一人，只有正在燃烧的残骸。他们并不知道这是押送囚犯的专机。直升机毫无防备地降落在雪地，弗兰克带队下机搜查，队友胖子发现了机长的遗体，而弗兰克在雪地里找到了散落的镣铐，这让他立刻警觉了起来。果然在不远处就找到了一名重伤的法警。
We got a live one! Ambush.
就在这时，埋伏在四周的囚犯从树林冲出，弗兰克和同伴立刻架起受伤的法警，紧急撤回。不料埋伏在机舱的囚犯猛地窜出，双方瞬间扭打成一团。混战中，他们寡不敌众，胖子被连刺数刀倒地不起，另一名同事也被囚犯持刀劫持。关键时刻，弗兰克开枪击毙歹徒。他们奋力扶起胖子前往直升机，可那群不要命的歹徒又抡着棍子步步紧逼，弗兰克只能开枪自卫。一名歹徒趁着他犯弹的空档猛冲过来，将他扑倒在地。正当弗兰克命悬一线之际，一名受伤的法警摸索着捡起地上的手枪，乱射几枪击毙了歹徒，却差点误伤的弗兰克。原来他的眼睛看不见东西了。眼看冒出来的囚犯越来越多，他们赶紧爬上直升机，紧急撤离了现场。为了寻求一线生机的囚犯，不要命的蜂拥而上，冲向直升机。此时中情局的内部已乱成一片，主管黑杰得知失事的消息后惊慌失措。这次押运本是绝密任务，因为那名重刑犯正是他们的特工哈弗洛克，一旦让他逃脱，后果将不堪设想。无奈之下，他们只能请回被开除的前特工艾琳来收拾烂摊子，毕竟哈弗洛克是他一手带出来的。
You rerouted a prison transport through Alaska to pick up Havelock?
It was level 4. Even the chief master sergeant at Isleson's still in the dark.
The problem is, the plane lost radar contact at 0700. Satellite images indicate there are survivors, which means Havelock is in play.
Sounds like you have a problem.
It's our problem, Sydney.
直升机返回小镇后，胖子被紧急送医。
All right, everyone, circle up! We have a down plane 2 miles south from here. This is the transport. Twin jet, so it's probably big enough to see about 100 detainees.
What do you mean detainees?
It's a JPATS plane. Justice Prisoner Alien Transportation is used to move inmates around the country to court dates, trials.
Wait, we got convicts down there?
We get a lot worse than that. These are federal inmates. Foreign, domestic, male, female, armed, violent, and dangerous. So assume for some, this is going to be their one shot at freedom. So with every minute that passes, our problems multiply.
弗兰克火速集结全体警员，下令封锁整个山谷，绝不能让囚犯跑出来祸害小镇。他要求全员做好战斗准备。在医院工作的妻子莎拉得知事故后，担心弗兰克的安全，打来电话。
Be careful, all right? And stay safe until the cavalry gets there.
Honey, we are the cavalry.
黑姐送艾琳出发前，介绍了弗兰克的情况。
This cowpunk is the gatekeeper. The guy's captain of from 6 years in Chicago on the fugitive task force, but he couldn't stomach the city. He got reassigned back to the icebox. If the marshals box us out, this thing turns into a big shit black hole.
随后，弗兰克找到救命恩人法警格兰杰，向他打听飞机上到底发生了什么。
An inmate got loose and sabotaged the plane.
Which one?
I don't know. We diverted, made an unscheduled pickup.
Diverted where?
I think it was an air base.
An air base, where?
Middle of nowhere.
I mean, how far from the West Coast?
I don't know.
Okay. Just tell me what you physically saw.
He was hooded, restrained. They called him Havelock. They said he was high priority and off book. But this guy, it's like he knew.
He knew what?
That we were never going to stop him. This guy, he was smarter than anyone else. He just felt that he knew the moment his feet hit the ground, he was going to be a free man.
这时，弗兰克才意识到坠机事故并非那么简单。后续调查结果显示，这架航班共押运52名囚犯，其中23人确认死亡，11人已被抓捕，但仍有18名逃犯在雪地中流窜，追捕任务依然艰巨。没过多久，艾琳就带着2名 FBI 的探员找到了弗兰克。弗兰克正想多了解一些坠机的内幕，和艾琳以机密为由，不愿透露过多内容，这让弗兰克更加坚信事故背后另有隐情。因为押送囚犯根本就不是中情局的活儿，如果艾琳为了保守秘密，置小镇居民安全于不顾，弗兰克绝不会答应。
Cards on the table, Frank. I don't want to be here. And I'm not in the mood to protect the people who sent me. So tell me, what is it that you want to know?
Let's start with Havelock.
在弗兰克的追问下，艾琳终于透露真相。3年前，中情局启动了一项秘密计划，把技术人员伪装成叛徒，故意泄露情报，以引出真正的敌人。哈佛洛克就是其中之一。艾琳的任务就是把这个电脑高手训练成杀人的机器。他教哈佛洛克使用武器，学习外语，掌握杀人技巧。2年来，哈佛洛克以情报为诱饵，成功清除欧洲与远东的多个目标。行动一直非常顺利，直到上个月，他突然携带机密情报失踪。几天前，他在边境被捕，押送途中飞机离奇坠毁，很可能就是他精心策划的逃跑计划。此时的哈佛洛克已潜入一户农舍，挟持了5组老人。弗兰克接到妻子打来的电话，胖子因内出血，情况危急。弗兰克在医院正好遇见了那名法警，由他的妻子莎拉负责照顾。
Sarah, your wife?
Yeah, she is. How are you doing?
Oh, it'd be better if I could see.
这时，外面突然传来女人的悲痛的哭泣声。原来，胖子已经离世了。
How could you let this happen, Frank? He's gone. He's gone. He's gone.
妻子含泪恳求弗兰克退出此案。胖子的离世让他感到后怕。弗兰克已为警队奉献了18年，是时候为家人考虑退休了。正当弗兰克陷入沉思时，同事打来电话，发现重要线索。一个气象观测站发出未加密的求救信号，农舍内的哈佛洛克正在收拾干粮，准备逃跑。突然门外传来动静，他瞥见桌上的电台，顿时明白老人已经报警。
What did you do?
此时的弗兰克已带队包围了农舍，哈佛洛克来不及逃跑，和冲进来的警察激烈交火。等弗兰克追进去，哈佛洛克挟持老人从后门逃至屋外。弗兰克喊话让他放下武器，并承诺保障他的安全，但艾琳在一旁催促弗兰克快点开枪，防止人质遇害。正当哈佛洛克犹豫时，艾琳突然砍断狗链，猎狗猛扑上去疯狂撕咬，哈佛洛克当场毙命。艾琳查验尸体时惊觉死者并非哈佛洛克。回去后，艾琳检查其他囚犯的尸体时，竟发现一名囚犯的真实身份竟然是法警。
Granger, no. No, I talked to Granger. He told me about the crash.
Yeah, he was hooded, restrained. They called him Havelock. This guy, he was smarter than anyone else.
弗兰克这才恍然大悟，那个双眼受伤的法警有可能就是真的哈弗洛克。他赶忙给医院的妻子打电话。
Ranger, okay? He's not a guard. He's a prisoner. Get out of the building. Notify the nearest police officer, okay?
只可惜一切为时已晚，萨拉已落入魔掌。当弗兰克匆匆赶到医院，哈弗洛克早已逃之夭夭。